Napoli sauce. Napoli sauce is the simple pasta sauce that you use to make all sorts of things. You can use it as a pizza sauce. You can use it as a pasta sauce, a very basic pasta sauce. You can use it for parmas. It's your foundation tomato sauce that everything else can sort of expand upon. Like, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of ingredients here. It's very, very simple. Obviously got some olive oil, some white wine. Any sort of cheap, dry white wine will work. This is Chardonnay. This is just simple. It's $4.20. You don't need an expensive wine. You're not really going to taste it. All you're trying to get is that little bit of a sweetness and that little bit of acidity from it, because you're cooking the alcohol majoritively off. You can substitute this for vinegar and a little bit of water. The ratio is sort of about 50-50, and then you can add that in substitute of this if you don't want to get wine or any other reason. Fresh tomatoes. You can use canned tomatoes. You can use tomato passata. Any of those things will sort of work. Don't use tomato sauce like ketchup. Don't use that. Use these, or crushed tomatoes or passata. Parsley. This is mainly for dressing, like for plating. If you want to be fancy, you don't have to use that if you don't want to be fancy. Tomato paste. This is just a small little tin of tomato paste. The 170 gram ones, if you want the exact measurement. And I've opened that can up and I've gotten it ready. Basil. Fresh basil is best. You can use dry basil, that'll be fine. It won't be quite as nice, but fresh basil is best. You can use the basil paste, which is, it's not quite as good, but this is a bit better. 2 small onions or 1 large onion, you can sort of substitute that. And a bowl of garlic. You're not going to use the whole bowl, you're probably going to use 3 or 4 cloves of it. And that's ready to go. All we have to do now is you just prep your veggies. Make sure you get everything ready first. Preparation is key. Make sure you've got this stuff over by your stovetop where your pots and that are, because that's where you're going to be using them. Like I said, I prepped this earlier. I took, so I don't have to open it while everything's cooking. Chop your basil, chop your parsley, chop your tomatoes, chop your onion, chop your garlic, put it in a bowl. You probably put the tomatoes in a separate bowl to the onion and the garlic, because these go in first. And the basil goes in towards the end. So you put that all in its respective bowls. And you just get everything ready, prep your veggies, which we're going to go through and do now. All right, so now we're going to go through and prep our vegetables. Onions and garlic first. So you cut your onion, peel them, so on and so forth. Now, a trick to peeling garlic is you kind of have to sort of smack this big bulb open. So you just get your knife and just don't be a bit confident, just a bit. Oh God, I was a bit too confident. I did fling a clove on the floor, and that'll bust the bulb right open. And you just peel the outside layer off. It's good to have a scrap bowl. If you don't have a bin right near you, I've just got a bowl with a bit of paper towel in it, and that makes it easy just to sort of, if you've got any stuff nearby, you can just quickly chuck it in there. All right, to cut a clove of garlic, all you need to do is the same way as you're opening the bulb of garlic. Just give it a light tap until the skin starts to, breaks away. Then you peel that skin off. Get that skin off, and then you can just slice up the garlic as it is. It's good to get that sort of root. You can see it there. That bit of root. Cut that a little bit off. It just sort of a bit mangy, not very good. And then you just toss your garlic up real thin. And then from here you can just give it a sort of rough chop. And you can chuck that in your bowl. And we're going to do about 4 cloves of garlic, so we'll just do that real quick. All right, and a tip with cutting tomatoes, when you cut them to do the dicing, where you can sort of cut them into quarters or whatever, they're going to cook down a lot anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. But when you cut them in half, you want to cut this bit out. So you just get in and cut a little V, and then just lift up with the knife, and it'll pop right out. Then you do the same thing this one, boop. Boom, all there. And a little bonus thing you want to do, if you don't like all of these seeds or anything like that, you can just grab this while it's hard and just give them a bit of a squeeze into your junk bowl just to get some of those seeds out. I don't mind so much, but if you don't like the seeds, that's something you can do. And then you just dice your tomatoes. All right, now a tip for chopping herbs is to just sort of roll them up upon themselves. With this, I'm going to take the stalks off first, just that little stalky bit there. And then you kind of roll them up along itself, just in one big bunch, and then you can just sort of run your knife through them. And that'll get a nice fine chop. You don't have to do this with the basil, you can put it in whole and it'll just sort of cook down, but I like to cut it up into its own little pile. All right, so we've got everything prepped. So you've got your tomatoes prepped. I had to put them in 2 bowls because I should have gotten a big bowl out. More tomatoes than I thought, but that's all right, mistakes happen, it's fine, easy fix, just put in another bowl. Onion garlic's prepped, our basil's prepped, and now we're gonna go over to the stovetop and we're gonna actually cook this thing, put it together. All right, so we are now at our stovetop. And the first thing you're going to want to do is turn your burner on your big saucepan. I've got a big saucepan out. This sort of one here I'm going to use to fill pasta, but I'm not going to do that quite yet because it's still got a while to go before you get the water boiling. I'll let you know when I do it. So the first thing you want to do is get the heat on a high heat, just to get started. Just let that sort of heat up for a second. Then you're going to add a little bit of olive oil. Just a little bit to coat the bottom of the pot. Then you're going to give that a second just to heat up. And now that our oil is warmed up a little, we're going to add our onions and garlic. And you're going to give them a fry off a couple of minutes just to sort of, until they go a bit translucent. So they go a bit, not quite see-through, but they go a bit translucent. You know, just a quick sear off. What we're doing right now is called sauteing. It's just quick grill off, quick fry off. And you want to sort of keep this moving too. You don't want anything catch and burn because we are cooking on a high heat right now. We will turn it down at some point, but right now we're sort of trying to get this to fry off real nice. All right, and after a sort of minute or two of frying, we're sort of starting to go a bit translucent. They're starting to, you know, get to where we want them to be. And this is the point where we're going to add our tomatoes. You're going to stir. And you're going to sit and just sort of let this hang out for sort of a couple of minutes, just to sort of let it cook out a little. All right, we'll let this sort of cook up for about 5 minutes. And you can see now it's much, a lot of the juice in the water has sort of come out of it and the tomato is starting to soften. So now is the time we're going to add our white wine. Going to add, you know, about a quarter of a bottle. A little bit more. And I'm going to give that a stir around. Now what I think the wine does, as I said, it's sweetness and a bit of acidity. And you're going to want to add this early on so that the alcohol has a chance to sort of cook off. If you add it when everything's sort of too wet, there's too much moisture, the alcohol has a bit of trouble getting it to cook off. It'll cook off anyway, but it's better to do it early than it is later. You can even add it when it's with just the onions and the garlic. You can just give that a quick thing, give it a stir in for a couple of minutes, then add your tomatoes. You can do it in either method. It won't end up mattering because it's going to cook on the stovetop for a bit of time. All right, so once that's sort of stirred around a bit, you can sort of just let this chill out with the lid on a lower heat, just sort of, you know, I'll leave the lid a bit ajar too. They're just so it's not going super crazy with too much temperature, has a chance for some steam to escape. You let that simmer for, you know, half an hour, however long. The longer you let it sit, the better it'll end up tasting. But there's an upper limit to that, of course. If you let it go completely dry and it might end up burning, but you got to watch this. So every sort of, you know, 10, 15 minutes, come in, give it a stir, leave it again, and just let that sort of do its thing. Let it cook. All right, this sauce has been cooking for 45 minutes to an hour with an occasional stir every sort of 5-10 minutes. And now it's started to thicken up a little bit. It started to release a lot of flavours. It's cooked down, it's a lot thicker, there's a lot less water in it. And now we're ready at this stage to get the pasta water on. So I've got it filled up already, I've got water in here. You just need to bang the burner on, high heat, if it decides to play along. There we go. And you just let that come to a boil. And in the meantime, I'm going to turn the heat down on this. It's on low, it's just going crazy. And we are going to add our tomato paste into the pot. And then give it a stir. And what the tomato paste is going to also do is sort of thicken it up that little bit further. So it was still a little bit liquidy. It won't matter now because as you can see now, it's starting to really get that sort of darker colour that you expect, and it's starting to thicken up. And so there we go. Now it's at pretty much the consistency I want it. Make sure you taste everything as you go along. Just get a little bit on your spoon. Blow it off so you don't burn your mouth. And that's starting to come together really nicely. It still needs that little bit longer to simmer. It's still quite acidic, which is what you get with fresh tomatoes. And if you like that, well then you're gonna like that. But it does also need a little bit of salt. And a little bit of pepper. Another stir, give it another taste. And that's better. If it's not quite sweet enough for you, you can add just a tiny pinch of sugar to level out some of that acidity. Or you can add a little bit of like balsamic vinegar if you want a bit more tartness. I like to do that at this stage if you really like that. But right now I'm pretty happy with how that's going. So, alright, we're just gonna let that sort of sit and simmer for a little bit longer as the pasta water begins to boil. And then we'll put the pasta in, and you can probably even turn this heat off because it'll continue to sort of like cook. As I see, it's really bubbling along. It'll continue to sort of cook and cool down, and the flavors will mellow out. And once you flick the heat off is when you can add your basil, which is now. Bit of final stir. And I add it in later, I add the basil in later, so that it has a chance to sort of stay a bit fresh. It doesn't sort of mellow too much. I like that nice, bright, vibrant taste of basil. If you like it a little bit more mellow, you can just add it earlier. And it'll cook right down and the flavors will really mingle and get to know each other. But that pretty much is how I like to go. So I'm just gonna let this water boil, let that cool down and simmer down, and I'll be back when I'm ready to cook the pasta. All right, so our water is now at the boil, and this is the point where we're going to add our pasta. Now, when you first put the pasta in, you gotta make sure that you're constantly stirring it. Otherwise, it's going to stick and sort of clump together, and some of it might catch and burn on the bottom of the pot. Important not to do that. Important to make sure that it's very, very, very stirred and going to stay together and not clump. And that's sort of just, you know, keep stirring it every now and then. Once it sort of starts to cook and expand and a lot of the starches are released into the water, you don't have to be as rigorous as stirring it. Still just give it a stir every now and then. And if the packet sort of recommends 10 minutes or 11 minutes, you cook it for 9 or 10 minutes because it's going to keep cooking sort of as you strain it and with the sauce, and when you plate it, it's going to keep cooking. But honestly, the best way to know if it's ready is just to taste it. You pull a piece out on your spoon and you just give it a second to cool down, and you just chuck it in your mouth and you taste it. And if it's that nice sort of soft but not completely like mushy texture, then you're sweet, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about any of it. It's ready to go and you can strain it. So yeah, just keep stirring it, keep an eye on it, and sort of 7 or 8 minutes in, sort of it's when you start looking at sort of tasting it, when it starts to expand, and you'll start to feel it in your spoon. It'll be a bit softer, it's not so hard. That's when you can take it out and start to, you know, try a bit, just try a little bit. And if it's still too hard, give it another minute, try another piece until it's the perfect texture. You don't want hard pasta and you don't want mushy pasta. So just keep an eye on it. I know you want to bugger off and play all your silly games or watch your silly shows. Not now. Serious stuff with pasta. You don't want to overcook it. You don't want to undercook it. Just keep an eye on it, taste it every now and then, and we'll be good to go. All right, so this pasta is now done. So we're going to get to straining it. You can use a strainer. You just put it in your sink and just pour it in the strainer and that'll strain it. But there's a method that I like to use, and Adam Ragusia taught me this. Shout out Adam Ragusia. You just get your lid and you pop it on a jar, sort of just enough so the pasta doesn't get out, but there's a lip for the water to get out. And you just go to your sink and you just tip it out. And that saves washing a dish. So if you really care about that, then that's for you. If you're not confident enough to do that because you don't want to burn yourself or spill hot water over anyway, completely fine. Use a strainer. Completely understandable. I'm going to go strain this now, and I'm going to get to finishing it up and plating it. Alright, so now I've got everything ready to plate, and you may notice that this sauce doesn't quite look as chunky as it did before, and that's because I used one of these. You do not have to use this. I like to, but this is a stick blender. You can get them for not very much money, and they're very good for blitzing up sauces and making them a lot less chunky. If you don't have one of these and you don't want to get one, just use tomato passata instead of whole tomatoes, and you can just, it'll be a smoother sauce anyway. And this is pretty much ready to go, so we'll get ready to plate. Alright, so now to plate, all you need to do is put your pasta in the bowl. This is a sort of big serving size, so you can serve up smaller serving sizes from this, but I'm just going to do it all in one big pot. Because that's what I like to do. So I'm going to add a couple of ladlefuls of sauce on top. And there we go. And then we can add a little bit of chopped parsley. So we'll move these out of the way. And then we're just going to chop up some parsley really fine. Same thing as the basil, you just sort of roll it up on itself, nice, and then just cut it up, that's fine. And then you can just sprinkle this bit of parsley on top. And if you want to be even more fancy, you can add a bit of shaved parmesan. But that's it. That's your Napoli sauce and cooked pasta. I used penne today, but you can mix this with literally any sauce. Any pasta alive. Whether it be penne, spaghetti, fettuccine, spirals, shells, rigatoni, anything. It's very versatile. You can put it on anything. Any sort of pasta will work. And that's it. That's Napoli sauce. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.